Hey guys, this is Sashi. I'm a corrective exercise specialist, yoga instructor, and Pilates instructor.
Hey guys, Derek Owens here, Battle Axe Barbell. I'm ready to get fixed.
So we'll be going through a mobility routine today. It's just going to be targeted to allow some of the old injuries that he sustained in his life to get mobility back in the area. We'll be increasing the length to the muscle that he compacts, which will allow us to increase range of motion and power output within his lifts. So for the first movement we're going to be doing, we'll be using a foam roller on this one, but we'll be utilizing a movement that's similar to the wall slides. What we'll be doing here we're going to be opening the chest, allowing some relief through the spine, and allowing the shoulders to open up. So to set up this first move, you're gonna sit at the base of a foam roller. Now, if you don't have a foam roller available, know that you can lay just on the ground and keep your knees bent, but you'll lay from the tip of the tailbone all the way through the crown of the head. So just allow yourself a moment to settle in there. A couple things that we'll be looking for when we're down here. You want to allow your spine to flatten. So take here, you pull the front of the rib cage in, and that's going to allow the spine to come down onto the foam roller. So that's going to do a couple things. That's going to start to allow your spinal erectors to open up, as well as your low traps and rhomboids. Also, you're activating the core, and it's going to allow you to stabilize the movement. So from here, take your arms out to a 90-degree bend, and you want to try and allow them just to relax down towards the floor as much as possible. They may or may not actually get there, but that's going to start to open up your chest and shoulders here. We'll add a little bit of movement here in just a moment, but we're going to just kind of start taking these slowly. When you're ready, you can start to reach your arms up overhead. So start to stretch the arms out, and as you do that, think about drawing your shoulders down and really keeping that firm connection. Yep. On your exhale, start to bend the elbows right back to your side. Try not to allow the spine to change at all here. Good. You just work with your breath to allow your body to open up. You could do anywhere from 10 to 15 of these. So these movements are going to be really great anytime, that you're doing any type of big upper body lift, whether it's a chest press or a shoulder press. This is also going to be really good for any movement like a deadlift, where you have to really keep your spine strong and long. Give me like 3 more. Pull this back in. Yeah. Final rep. Good, and then just allow your elbows to come back to the side and rest there for a moment. And you can already tell how much lower he's gotten to the ground. That's because the chest is starting to open up. So for the next move, your elbows are gonna stay perfectly parallel to the shoulders. You'll just start to rotate the palms towards the ground. So try to keep the elbows as if they're connected to the ground as much as possible. Continuing to draw the rib cage in. And you only go as far as the range of motion will allow, and then you start to bring the hands back. Same thing here, rep range 10 to 15. Most important thing, you don't want to force anything in these movements. You don't want to try and force your elbows back, because that can risk overstretching. Need 2 more of those. Good, and after your final rep, lengthen the arms out to a T by your side. Just let them pause there for a moment. So start with your palms down, and then when you're ready, you flip the palms up. You're gonna start to, I call these snow angels, reach the arms up overhead and then exhale by your side. So same thing here, all the setup is always gonna be the same. You wanna really pull the abdominals in and allow the spine to decompress up against that foam roller. Okay. And you can take the arms down by your side all the way. Think about drawing your shoulders actively away from the ears. That act of drawing them down and back will allow your lower traps and rhomboids to open up more. Okay, give me one more. Good. So just rest there for a few seconds. You can keep that as a single set, or you can do multiple sets. So maybe you want to do 3 rounds of 10 to 15 movements per, or reps per movement, excuse me. Know that it's okay to do just as much as you feel like you need in order to get the a little bit more open and some blood flow into the area. Now, if you want to take this and start to add a little weight, you can start to change the movement by making it a little bit more activation versus a little bit more of the lengthening. Both are important because we want strong, stable muscles that are also flexible enough to take you through everything. So you can use bands, you can use lightweight. You can take this move on a foam roller. You can do chest press if you're doing a big chest press day. It's a great way to activate everything that you need in order to set up your lift. I'll show you a band variation that we can do. So take the band in between your hands and walk them in kind of close. Yep, so we're just gonna do some pull aparts here. So obviously this is not the chest press, but if you're gonna do a fly opening up, think about pulling from the rear delt as you open up, and when you come in, start to resist with the chest. Flatten that rib cage. So just by adding a little resistance, we're taking the mobility and making it more from flexibility to activation. Both are gonna work to accomplish both things, but depending on where you are in your journey, you may need to do one or the other. So if you tend to be a little bit tighter and less flexible, stick to more of the opening movements. If you tend to be more flexible and less strong, stick to more of the activation movements, because our body has to be a balance of both. Keep reaching those shoulders down and pulling from here. Good. Same rep range here on the strength. You can do anywhere from 10 to 15 on these mobility movements that we're doing today. These are one of the movements that you don't necessarily have to focus so much on the number. I'm more focused on what you're feeling. Good, relax. All right, guys, so for our next movement, we'll be working on our T-spine rotation. So think thoracic spine. This is really gonna help bring mobility through the middle of your back, which tends to get really junked up. We need our whole spine to be able to work so our hips can work and so that everything else can function appropriately. When your thoracic spine is tight, it can cause rounding in the shoulders, it can cause your hips to stand or set in an uncompromised position, also causing low back pain. So we just wanna make sure that we target the different areas of the spine. So to set up for this movement, we'll begin in our box pose. And it's really important whenever you're in your box pose that your hips are directly on top of your knees and your shoulders are directly on top of your wrists. So he's set up really great here. For the next part of the movement, you'll take either hand, whichever one you want to start with, behind your head. You're gonna tap your elbows together. I use breath with most movements, so inhale when you tap together, and exhale when you twist and open. And think about actively drawing your shoulders down your back while rotating only through that middle of your spine. So you use your core to stabilize the hips so that they don't shift around through this movement. It's good to gaze to your elbow the entire time. That will help you find your fullest range of motion. You don't ever want to force any of these movements. It will work against you if you create extra resistance. So if you get to a point where it kind of catches your breath and you can't breathe through the movement, it's a good indicator that you've gone a little too far in that movement, and just shorten the range of motion a little bit until you can open up more. So we'll do 2 more on this side, and then we'll switch to balance them out. Good, and on that final breath, you can always take the arm up to the sky and circle it out if you want. That's just a little add-on. So when you're ready, start up the other side. Think about keeping that right arm real firm. Don't let the arm buckle out, but draw that shoulder down your back. Good. And it's perfectly normal when you're working on unilateral movements, so one-sided movements, for you to find out where your dysfunctions are in your body. If you don't already know where they are, you'll notice them in flexibility differences, strength differences. So you just have to listen to those cues so that when you are working through these movements, you can actually work to balance the body so that it can work more efficiently in the big lifts. We'll do 1 more here. Good. For our next move, we're gonna do a move that's really gonna kind of target the entire body. Think shoulders, chest, hips, back. This move can be really good if you, again, are a power lifter and you're going for any compound movements that day, any cleans, jerks, deadlifts, any of your big power movements. If you're not a power lifter, these are good for any time you're doing any sort of full body move, or even just some moves that are gonna target the hips, or even if you're just feeling tired and need to get your body moving. So to begin with this move, you'll begin in what's known as child's pose in the yoga community. You take your big toes to touch, your knees out nice and wide, and you're gonna settle your hips all the way back to your heels. When you do that, you find length through your spine and draw your shoulders away from the ears. And when you start to roll through your inhale, you'll press your hands into the earth and kind of draw your hands back, round through your thoracic. So that's the upper part of your back. You're gonna roll all the way through until your hips come down. When you find this movement, draw your shoulders down and away and open the chest. And then when you're ready, you take the hips and just push yourself straight back into your child's pose. Stay connected to the breath the entire time. If you lose the breath and start to hold it, your body's actually gonna start to introduce more resistance and work against what we're trying to do here. On a move like this, anywhere from really 5 to 15 reps, just depending on what your body is needing. This is really gonna get your blood flow going. Breathe into the spaces that you're opening. So when you're drawing the shoulders down, think about breathing into your chest. When you're sitting back, breathe into your hips and your back. By doing that, it puts your body where you're feeling the tension and gives yourself the permission to let it go. Let's just do like a couple more. So for our next movement, I'll actually begin demonstrating it first. It's kind of a complex movement. It's a little bit faster as well. This move can be really good right before you get into the nitty-gritty of your workout, regardless, once again, of if you're powerlifting or just getting in a general workout. This will get your blood flow going. It's gonna target your hips. Again, it'll get your thoracic spine open up, and it's gonna just move blood through the entire body, which will help open up your muscles and get you ready for the movement. So we'll start, you can start either standing up or in a plank pose, but to start standing up, just come down into a squat. You'll plant your hands on the ground, you jump back. From there, you can either push up or not, come back into your squat, plant your hand to the outer edge of either leg and open the opposite arm, and then you'll switch side to side. From there, hands come back down, pop it back out. You can push up there or not. Come back into your squat and open the arms. So you'll just do this a few rounds of breath. When you're here, think about the shoulders down and back. When you're in that squat, think about drawing the tailbone forward. If you want to start from the plank pose, obviously you would just jump up. So again, push up or not, you can come up and start to open up. So I'll let Derek take over. He's going to do a few rounds for you as well, so you can see what it looks like in different bodies.
Oh man, you basically just did it for me. All right, coach me through the first part again. We can do it slow, and then you can tell me how many to do. All right.
All right. So, knees out or feet out. You'll come down as far as your hips need you to. Come down into your squat, plant the hands, jump it back. You can also step it back. Go into your push-up, come right back up into squat. Right here, think about getting your spine as long as you can. So lift your sternum, draw your shoulders down into their pockets. Keep the front of the rib cage pulled in. So your abdominals always have to support your spine. Again, on a movement like this, anywhere from 5 to 15 reps, just depending on what your target is for the workout. We'll just do like 1 or 2 more. And you'll see he's doing a really great job keeping light on his feet for both the jump back and the jump forward. That's a good indicator that his core is maintaining his stability through the whole movement. So if you feel like you are jumping back and landing really hard on your feet or jumping forward in the same thing, use your core to help support that and be a little bit more light. Good. For our next move, we'll be doing what's called a hip pry. This is going to be really great for anyone who sits down a lot, who has low back pain, if you've got tight hips or hamstrings, any of that. It will also help to open your chest as well. All of this will help lengthen your spine, which will help to alleviate that low back pain. So to start this movement up, we'll have Derek come out. He's going to take his feet just about slightly outside of hip distance. You may need to adjust that depending on your hips. And then from there, you're going to forward fold, but think about hinging and pressing your hips back, and then reach for the toes. If you can't reach your toes, bend your knees until you can. He's pretty flexible here, which is great. So from there, let your head hang really heavy when you're in this position. You kind of want to find some lightness in your hips and maybe even a little bit of an external rotation at the sit bones from the back side of the body. When you come down, you're going to drop your tailbone straight under you. Draw your shoulders down your back and really lengthen the spine. So once you're here in this position, you can remain holding the toes, or you could also take your hands to your heart center and then just use your elbows to kind of open into the hips, or maybe you rock onto the ankles just gently. And then when you're ready for the next part of the movement, you'll grab the toes again and just breathe as you lift the hips. So exhale into that part of the movement, yet let the head hang heavy when you're here. So we don't want to create any unnecessary tension in our cervical spine. When you're ready on the inhale, you drop the tailbone below you and think about keeping your neck neutral. So as you come down, you're lengthening the spine and drawing the crown of the head up. Again, here, if you get down here and you feel like you can't get your heels down, maybe you need to rotate the feet out slightly or widen the hips, the feet slightly. Everybody's gonna start in a different position. Eventually, you can start to tighten it in a little bit more, but it just depends on where you are right here, right now. So everybody's shape is gonna look different. It doesn't really matter what you look like in this posture, but how you feel as you're doing it. So you're decompressing the spine, you're lengthening the hamstrings, you're activating the glutes to support you. We'll just do about 2 more here. This is another movement. All of these you want to think anywhere from 10 to 15 reps per set. Thanks for joining us out on this mobility routine. Know that you can take these movements and separate them and just add them in before a workout, or you could do the entire routine start to finish as like an active recovery day. Anywhere from 1 to 3 sets, 10 to 15 reps per movement will really help you to open up your body and get yourself set up for more range of motion, more increased output in your strengths and your lifts, as well as just making you feel better in general.
I had a lot of fun today working with Sashi. I tremendously feel a lot better, more looser. I've learned a lot today. I'm going to be carrying on. So all my strength training athletes out there, please use these movements. They help. I'm proof of it. I feel more limber and mobile than ever before in my life.
We hope you enjoyed today. Remember, you will, as always, like, share, subscribe, hit the link below. We'll see you next time.